Yes, and what's that based on? Standing on holy ground. Exodus something. Yep. Jacob in the Bible. Okay, who else? Annie? That's Exodus 1, Moses in the burning bush, and God says what?
Take off your shoes for you standing on holy ground.
Yes, absolutely. Go Alice, take off your shoes for you're standing on holy ground. I could say it in Hebrew, but I'm not going to show off. So anyway, taking off our shoes, and even though some of us didn't want to do it, just signifies that we're coming into a place that's going to be holy, and in a few minutes it really will be made holy by the presence of Jesus. But I think it gets our minds and our hearts and our bodies in a little bit different mindset than just coming in and plopping down on a chair. So that's why we're sitting on the floor. That's why we've taken our shoes off tonight. So tonight I want you to meet my friend, Mother Teresa. And when I say she's my friend, I really mean it. I'm not just like trying to be cute about it. I actually have this is part of my Mother Teresa collection. And because people know that I love Mother Teresa, they give me all sorts of things. I have so many Mother Teresa socks. You wouldn't believe it. These are my favorite because they're short. I've also got the long ones. One time in a year, I had 4 different people give me Mother Teresa socks. I think that's when these first became popular. But then people also make me things. Look at how cute this is. This was made for me many years ago at Pine Hills Camp by, who made it for me? Francesca Anger made this for me in the clay workshop. This is the best thing that's ever come out of the Cutesy Clay Creation workshop. Usually, what?
Not even Catherine's husband, the spoon?
This is so much And this actually sits on my window ledge in my kitchen. Okay? This year a camper brought this to camp for me. She made it. Isn't that amazing? She needs to open an Etsy shop. She made it? She made this, yeah. So isn't it so cozy? So cute.
I'm not giving it back, by the way.
Okay. And then we have the classic Mother Teresa that you can purchase at the Catholic bookstore, which is totally classic. Good job. So another one you can kind of cuddle up to. But then all sorts of things people make. Someone made this for me. Isn't that so pretty? I don't even know how they did it. So cool. But I have 3 favorite gifts I want to show you. This one I just got recently. Therese Benz, Miss Benz, to some of you FGR students, Anna's big sister, was recently in Calcutta, and she thought of me when she was there and bought this rosary and put this on the tomb of Mother Teresa, St. Mother Teresa. So this rosary has been blessed on her tomb. So this is very special to me, this rosary. And it's so simple, right? And then about 5 years ago, I met a priest who was visiting in our home, and I gave him a book about Mother Teresa because he was working with the Missionaries of Charity, and it had just come out, and he was really interested in it, so I gave it to him. A year later, I get it in the mail, a package, and I open it up, and inside is a note from this priest, and he said, I know how much you love Mother Teresa, and I've been working with the Missionaries of Charity, and I took one of their constitutions, the books, from their chapel. He said took, he didn't say steal. I'm sure he asked permission, and I'm sending it to you. So this is actually the book that each sister is given when they make their final vows, and it's the whole constitution of the order. And what I love is it's like typed up in this like old school typewriter, and then when they add things to the constitution, they put in these like little pieces of paper, okay? So that's my second gift that came to me that I love, because this is a part of Mother Teresa and her heart. And then the third gift, which is very special, is a second-class relic from Mother Teresa that Maria Kim, I don't know if any of you remember Maria, gave to me before she moved back home, and it's got a little piece of fabric from Mother Teresa on here. So I keep that together. But all sorts of things that remind me of Mother Teresa. Photos, there's another relic here. Somebody made this, what's this called? Peg doll or something? For me, painted it for me, Mother Teresa. So I'm not asking for more Mother Teresa gifts. I'm just telling you that my house is full of things that represent Mother Teresa to me. I want to start by showing you this picture because we often think of her as this old wrinkled nun. And this is actually a picture of her as a young woman before she entered the convent. What'd you say? She looks what?
Oh no, I just said face card.
Oh yeah?
She's pretty.
I have no idea how to pronounce her name before she was Mother Teresa. But she looks intense even in her picture. So, all right, so let me tell you a little bit about me and Mother Teresa. And this is a much longer story, and I don't have time, maybe another day, to tell it to you. But in 1989, long before you were born, but when you were in the mind of God, I was a young mother with two very young children. Rachel was not in the picture yet. She was in the mind of God, but she wasn't in the picture. She wasn't in the Herbeck picture yet. I was struggling as a young mom with a 6-month-old and a 2-year-old, and really struggling. Just being a young mom, feeling very hidden. And I had a chance encounter and a brief conversation with Mother Teresa of Calcutta. Not like in my mind, not like an imaginary friend situation. I actually was able to meet her. And she blessed my son Michael, my 6-month-old son Michael. She gave me a medal, and then she spoke a word into my life, into my heart, that I needed to hear in that moment, that totally changed my life. And it changed the course of my life, it changed my motherhood, it changed my marriage, and it changed my ministry. And so Mother Teresa has always had a very significant role in my life. And I think sometimes for us, saints can feel very distant and not very relevant to our life. Like we're like, well, yeah, saint, I don't know. I know you love Mother Teresa, so I'm not going to ask you. Who's your favorite saint?
Mother Cabrini.
Mother Cabrini. Okay, great movie about Mother Cabrini. Did you see it?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. We can think about these saints and think they lived so long ago and they're so far away and they're not relevant to my life at all. So I can admire them from afar, but I can't really relate to them. Or I could never do what she did, or I could never be as holy, or I never could live as sacrificially. And I remember one time I was praying, and I was telling the Lord how much I love Mother Teresa. And he said to me something really disturbing. He said, "You will never be Mother Teresa." And I was like, oh, so harsh. It was so hard. But I asked him, well, what do you mean? And I felt like he said to me, why would you want to be a second-rate version of Mother Teresa when you can be a first-rate version of Debbie Herbeck? And so while it's true there's only one Mother Teresa in the whole world, one day we can say there was only one Saint Ava Jude in the world, or whoever that is. And so I think that day the Lord taught me a very good lesson, that saints, like all true friends, help us become who we're intended to be. Okay? I'm not intended to be Mother Teresa, I'm intended to be Deborah Herbeck. And Mother Teresa has really taught me what it means to love. And even though I'm pretty slow to learn and not very good at it, her example in her life and now her prayers are really helping me to keep trying. How many of you know that Mother Teresa is the patron saint of Be Love Revolution? Okay. She is. She is. Yes, it's a true story. She's our patron saint. And on Friday, does anyone know what Friday is? Her feast day, yeah. Who has Mother Teresa as their confirmation saint?
Wow.
Amazing. All right. Fellow admirers of Mother Teresa. So I think this is a bit of what spurred me on to talk to you a little bit about her. And like I said, I want to talk mostly about what she was so passionate about, but I just want to give a little bit of background, some of the things that have inspired me over the years. She left her family at age 18 to join the Sisters of Loretto. And I've always remembered this line. Her mother, as she was leaving her mother looked at her and said, put your hand in his hand and never let go, because if you turn back, you will come back. And she was trying to communicate to her. Imagine being a mother and saying that to your daughter. Okay? She was trying to communicate to her that you should never look back. And that really became her guiding principle. So I think many of you know the story. She went off to be a nun, and what did she do? Who knows? What was her job? Gina, do you know? Serving the poor. Before she served the poor, what did she do? She was a teacher. She was a teacher in a school of wealthy girls, okay? And she taught there for many years and was a very well-liked teacher, but there were a lot of poor that she noticed around her outside the school, and something began to tug on her heart. And then on September 10th, 1946, she was by this time age 36, she was riding on a very small train up in the mountains on her way home from a retreat that she had taken. And on that day, she received a message, a call within a call, and that she called that day, September 10th, Inspiration Day. And that was the day she got a life-changing call to leave the sisters, to leave the convent, and to go out into the streets and to serve the poorest of the poor. Not just the streets, to go out into the slum and serve the poorest of the poor. And that day, she told God that she would never refuse him anything. Can you imagine that? It's like a big promise to make. But she told him she would never refuse him anything. And then her experience of God, her personal experience, was so deep and so intimate and so intense that it took her many years to really describe what the message was that God had given to her. So this is what I want to talk a little bit about, because I think it's just so beautiful, the message. She was called to leave the convent and to go out and serve the poor, but more importantly than that, she was called to entrust her with a message, and this is the message here. I thirst. And I just want to take a few minutes to talk about it, and I want you guys as much as possible to not just think about this as Mother Teresa's thing, or that's for the, hi Rose, or that's for girls who chose her as their confirmation sponsor. He was communicating something to Mother Teresa, a modern day saint. You guys, I met her. She's a modern day saint. He was communicating something to her that he wanted all of us to know. So I thirst. And this is some of what it means, and I'm just going to say really very simply what it means. Jesus hung on the cross. You see the cross here. And what did he say? He said a few things, but what did he say? I thirst. What was he thirsting for? Water. Yes. Definitely was thirsty. He was thirsting for water, but even more than that. What was he thirsting for? Turn to the person next to you and say, you. He was thirsting for us. He was thirsting for me, and he was thirsting for you. And he was thirsting for the person that you can't get along with. And he was thirsting for the person that's in prison right now. And he was thirsting for the worst criminals in the history of the universe. And he was thirsting for every single person who's offended you and hurt you. He was thirsting for love, for our love. And though there's nothing in God that needs us, everything in God wants us. I'm going to say that again. Although there's nothing in God that needs us, everything in God wants us. With all the intensity of his divine heart, no matter who we are or what we've done, God wants us. And so Mother ministered to the poorest of the poor, but it's to our heart that this message is supposed to come, not just to the poor. And in a certain way, the poor can hear it more easily than we can, because we are poor. How many of you know that you're poor? I don't mean materially, right? You think you're poor? I know you paid a lot of money for those ripped jeans, so your sister did, right? But there's a spiritual poverty that Mother Teresa is talking about. It's the spiritual poverty of humanity. When we're created in the image and likeness of God and we are joined with God before sin, we have everything. There is nothing lacking in us because we are joined and connected to God in the most intimate way. And when we're separated from God through sin, then we become poor. And all of humanity is separated from Him. And so there's a spiritual poverty that Mother is talking about. This is what it means to be hopelessly poor, is to be apart and separated from God. So, what Mother wants us to know is what? Who thirsts? Jesus. Who's He thirsting for? Me. And what does thirst mean? What does it mean? Raise your hand, just because I can't hear everybody at once. What does it mean when Jesus says He thirsts? Annie?
None of Him needs us, but all of Him wants us.
Yes, very good. Good job, Annie. Yes, means none of Him needs us, but everything in Him wants us. What does He want from us? Love. Yeah. Love. He loves us with this great intensity, this thirst, and what He wants back is love. Does He need love?
No.
Does our love make God better? No. He wants us to love Him because even our love makes His love better for us. So, if God has this deep desire to love us, His thirst for us, and it's powerful enough to change our hearts and to change our lives, why aren't our lives changed? Why aren't we all like Mother Teresa? Why aren't we all running out to serve the poor? Why aren't we all these incredible examples of deep faith? Well, I believe, and Mother Teresa taught, that it isn't just that He wants us to know that He loves us and He thirsts for us, but He wants us to thirst for Him. So this might sound funny, but God thirsts to be thirsted for. Okay? And this is why some people stop reading this, because they're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So, very simple. God wants us to thirst for Him. He wants us to want Him. Jesus once said to Mother Teresa, "They don't know me, so they don't want me." Who's He talking about?
The world.
Us, the world. They don't know me, so they don't want me, which I think is so true today. Have you ever thought about why don't more people want God? Why aren't more people hungry for God or thirsting for God? It's because people don't really know God. And so we have to know Him, and Mother talks a lot about this. We have to meet Him personally to really desire Him. And then our desire for Him and His desire for us draws us together. How many of you have ever played with magnets before? Okay, so you all know what magnetic force is, right? So God's love, His desire for us, is stronger than any force in the whole universe. And when we begin to have desire for God, it's like two magnets that are coming together and drawn together powerfully, that can't be separated. And so how do we be drawn, or how do we increase in our desire? And this is what I want to talk just a few minutes about before we get to adoration tonight. The way that we become a magnet for God's desire is prayer. And over time, when we persist in prayer, when the thirst of God in us and the desire for God actually begins to grow and be, then our desire with God's desire, we're actually reunited with Him and we're actually transformed. So, remember on the cross, what did Jesus say on the cross? Remind me. All right, so who was on both sides of Him on the cross? Two criminals. Okay. Remember about the one criminal? The good one. Sounds funny. The good thief.
Didn't the hour of His death, the criminal, didn't he like turn to God?
Yes. The last moments of his life, Thanks, Tegan. You're so right. He turned to God with his desire. He turned toward Jesus, his desire for heaven. And what did Jesus say? Josie? Today you will be with me in paradise. What a transformation to go from being a criminal who's condemned to death, who is in their last moments of death, who is not heading toward eternal union with God, but eternal damnation, to hear those words spoken over him. This is the meeting of the desire of a man and the desire of God coming together. And every time we turn to God in our nothingness, in our poverty, with our own sin and our selfish desires, we too are transformed. Bless you. And maybe it's not as dramatic as a criminal hanging on the cross, but it definitely, we become transformed by God's love. How many of you feel like you've been changed in a positive way by knowing Jesus? Okay. Anyone think of a really simple example? Yeah, Julia.
I'm able to love others better.
Okay, very good. Be able to love others better. That's transformation. That's her desire meeting God's desire. Josie?
I'm able to trust that everything can be alright.
All right, amen. Really good. Yeah. Kaylin?
I have the desire to love and serve others.
Okay, awesome. It's your desire and God's desire meeting.
I have a lot more patience than I used to.
Yes, very good. Yeah, that's definitely your desire and God's desire meeting. Transformation.
I have more trust in God's will.
Yeah, beautiful. More trust in God's will. Yeah.
Makes the others have Jesus.
Yeah, thank you. That's a huge one. Thanks, Mary. Loretta?
I'm able to like pause or anything.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. This is all like your desire meeting God's desire. Yeah.
I trust that everything will be okay, and I pray more when I'm in need.
Okay, awesome. All right, so so many things. Yeah, Veronica?
I might not complain. I don't like what's happening.
Yeah, good one. Not complain. Yeah, Claire?
I'm able to like offer things up.
Offer things up. Very good. Okay. Yeah, Megan?
I'm able to be myself.
Yeah, it's a big one. Be yourself, not care what other people think. All great things. Yep.
I have peace.
Peace. Yep. That's a big one. Yep. Not afraid of dying. Ooh, so good. Yeah, really good. All really, really good stuff. Now that's not coming about because you're trying harder, even though you are probably putting a little more effort in. It's coming from your desire for God, to please God, meeting his desire, his thirst for you. And that's for true transformation and change. It's also called fruit in the Bible, okay? When we begin to be transformed and we begin to change. So when we bring God's longing and ours into contact with one another, it's like putting together two power lines that have been disconnected. And suddenly the power that's coming from God's love and desire for us is surging through us, and we can experience something change, and we have power and control over sins, over our thought life. We can do things differently because that's God's desire coming with ours. Okay, so I think sometimes we overlook the small stuff, and this is another reason I love Mother Teresa. And so many of these saints are linked together. Do you know which saint she loved? Teresa of Lisieux, right, yeah. And Teresa of Lisieux had her own lineup, okay? And this is how it's supposed to work. And now we're inspired by all these saints, but this whole thing about doing small things with great love, where did she get that? Teresa of Lisieux, right. And it's okay that she didn't make that up on her own. It's a beautiful expression of the smallness of things. And so we, even us, even if we don't have the desire or the thirst for Jesus the size of a saint's, we can begin with small desires. Jesus, I want to want you more. That is a beautiful prayer to pray, and it's one the Lord loves to answer. Can you say that with me? Jesus, I want to want you more. Maybe we can even pray, Jesus, help me to want you more. Or show me what else I'm wanting more than I want you. Show me what else I'm wanting more than I want you. I've quoted this to you guys several times, but I'm going to say it again because it fits here. Mother Teresa said, God cannot fill what is already full. And if we're filling up our hearts and our minds and our lives and our attention with so many other things that aren't God, It's like going to McDonald's every day and feeling full, and then you go home and your mom has this huge gourmet spread on the table and you're like, I'm not really hungry. And you go away and your mom's sad because she really wanted to feed you this great food, but you don't have an appetite for it because you're filling yourself up with things that don't really fill us. Can anyone relate to that besides me? So as we pray that prayer, Jesus, I want to want you more, we have to be honest with ourselves and say, what am I wanting more than God right now? That's kind of keeping the real desire for him down and doesn't allow us to. That's why Lent is such a beautiful season. Who likes Lent? Why do you like Lent, Natalie Muse? Yes. So the church in her wisdom gives us seasons where we can refocus our life. But you can take a mini Lent anytime you want, okay? You don't have to wait till March or April, or February, March to do it. You can take break anytime you want from social media or other things that are keeping you from having that hunger and that desire for God. I think sometimes we look at Mother Teresa and we know her life wasn't easy, but we're like, well, she prayed every day and she had all these sisters around her and she knew what her mission was. You know Mother Teresa was in darkness for how many years? Does anyone know? 50 years, or almost 50 years. That's a long time. Half a century, okay? 50 years. And when Mother Teresa died, she came under a lot of criticism. And some people said about Mother, well, because it came out that she was in darkness when some of her letters came out. And some people said about her, well, she's a fraud. She was a hypocrite. She didn't really know Jesus. She didn't really love him. She didn't really have faith. But those who knew her said just the opposite, that she was never had a crisis of faith. She never wavered. Can you imagine going to prayer every single day for 50 years and never having a sensation of God's presence with you? I mean, we get discouraged after 2 days. We do. We're like, oh, I went to adoration, I didn't feel anything, or I went to that prayer party and I didn't feel anything, so God must not be real, or God must not love me, or he must not be there. For 50 years, Mother never wavered. And that light of faith that shines in the darkness, even when she had no sensations and no experience of God or feelings of his presence, that light inside her never went away, that light of faith. So I think we can look at Mother and say she had a heroic exercise of faith that wasn't dependent on circumstances or feelings. That's where desire grows. Desire doesn't grow just by feelings or experiences. It grows by staying faithful and true to what you know, even in the darkness. That's where that desire grows. Because she consistently chose to believe that God loved her, that he was good, that he thirsted for her. And she still deeply yearned for God. I was thinking about this. No one continues to long for the return of someone they love if that loved one no longer exists, right? That would be foolish. And so she knew that God existed, and she knew that one day she would experience his presence and he would come for her. And that desire, the deep desire she had, that thirst for Jesus, never ended. There's a story, I'm going to see if I can find the picture of her. Near the end of her life, she was hooked up to all these tubes and she couldn't speak. And so she asked for a pencil, probably a tiny one, and a piece of paper, and she wrote this on a piece of paper. I don't know if some of you can see it. What does it say, Alice?
I want Jesus.
I want Jesus. She couldn't speak. She couldn't communicate. So she wrote on this piece of paper, I want Jesus. And then she wrote the phone number of the priest who could bring her communion.
I was like, that looks like a lot more letters.
I mean, this woman was like really something. So, but even near the end of her life, when she couldn't communicate the way she wanted to, what is the 3 words she said? I want Jesus, or I thirst. That's what she was saying. The most important thing to her was that she wanted Jesus. And so for Mother and for the Missionaries of Charity, the most important thing that they did, do you know what the most important thing they did was? Does anyone know? What do you think it was?
Adoration.
Who said that? Yes, adoration. Yes, and in their Constitution, which I showed you that this book, there's a whole section on their way of life. And they write in this, adoration of the Blessed Sacrament, our 1 hour daily adoration before the Blessed Sacrament exposed gives us one more opportunity to sit at His feet in communion with the Lord to whom we belong. We use this time to deepen our faith, love, gratitude, and reparation. Adoration was a non-negotiable, this holy hour, for the Missionaries of Charity. There's a story that Mother Teresa and her sisters were in Turkey helping with victims of an earthquake, and they were helping dig people out and getting their belongings and all that stuff. And this is them during adoration. And this was when they had cell phones, and they called. No, it wasn't cell phones. I'm sorry. Mother tracked them down in a chapel near where they were working, and she said, "Come home." And they said, "Mother, we're digging people out of the rubble." And she said, "Come home, it's time for your holy hour." So this was non-negotiable for Mother, because she said, you cannot give what you do not have, and you cannot serve with the heart of Christ if you don't spend at least an hour a day with Him. Now they spent more than an hour, but everyone had that holy hour. And interestingly enough, they said they wanted that time, the holy hour, to be unstructured prayer where they could freely be with Jesus and listen to them and hear Jesus speaking to them of His love. I'm sure they did Liturgy of the Hours, I'm sure they did the Rosary and other things, but that holy hour was time just to listen to the Lord and to listen to their love. It is impossible, well, first of all, it's hard enough to stir a desire for Jesus with so many other desires that are competing with us. How many of you felt like your time's a little bit, is a little different now that you're back in school? Okay. So there are a million things that are grabbing for your attention. What's yours, besides a cow that you have to milk?
A lot of other things.
A lot of other things, right? So many other things. So we've got what? Sports. Homework. What's that? Tests. Sleep. Any extracurriculars. Friends. Family. Is my uniform clean? No. Sorry, we're getting off track. Good. Here's my point. There's so many things competing for our desires and our intentions. That makes it hard to stir our desire for God or our appetite for God. But it is impossible to stir our hearts to deeper desire for Jesus without daily prayer. It absolutely cannot happen. And I'm not saying that to discourage you, I'm just saying that to give you a realistic understanding of this. You cannot grow in friendship with anyone if you don't spend time with them. And you cannot grow in close, intimate friendship with someone if you don't spend quality time with them. So what I want to invite you to do is two things. I want to challenge you to two things. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to end with two pictures that I want to show you. Some of you might recognize this. Okay. Does anyone recognize where this was? This is camp in the tent. And is there one more? Okay. This is waiting for Jesus. So, I know you weren't all at camp, but I at least want to describe this because I think it's what I'm trying to get at. And you'll understand even if you weren't there. We had a night, Wednesday night, where we wanted to do Eucharistic adoration, and Jesus was there, and the monstrance is really big. And everyone was sitting in their seats looking at Jesus, and I felt like the Lord said, tell them to come closer. And I thought, that's a bad idea. because it's such a small space and there's so many and there's fire and there's, everything. But I felt so strongly that this was the desire, the thirsting the Lord had for you, that he wanted you close to him. And it was like a magnet. Because when you guys saw Jesus and that desire in you was sparked to him, it was like being drawn. I don't know if any of you experienced that. I definitely experienced it that night. And that's why I love inviting people closer to Jesus, like in proximity to him. Because I think we're often observing. And when even a spark of desire for him, tonight you're here because there's a spark of desire. Maybe you don't even know what that means or why you came, but there's a spark of desire here. When that spark of desire comes to him and you're drawn to him, then that can grow. And so I want to challenge you in two ways, okay? The first is, I want to invite you to think seriously about having a time each week to be in adoration. You don't need to do an hour, okay? But to find time. I remember last year going to adoration at least once a week when our team would go after school. I think it was like 3 to 3:30. You know who I always saw there? And she would die if I was even saying this. Grace Thompson. Because Grace decided that she wanted to see Jesus after school. And she just made it part of her routine. Even when she was on the tennis team, even when she was doing other things, she just stopped in to see Jesus. How many of you have a chapel right in your school? All right, and if you go to, yeah, you do too, right? So there are many beautiful chapels in the area. Find a time, doesn't even have to be during the school day or the school week, to go and visit Jesus and to be with Jesus in adoration. It's different than praying in your room in your bed at night. It just is. Right, Natalie? So I think we have the same holy hour. I see you on Friday.
The juniors and seniors will drive you, right?
Yeah. A number of years ago, we did an adoration challenge, which I loved, and we just put a tiny little notebook outside. We did it at Christ the King because it's the most central one, notebook, and I just said, I just challenge you guys to get to adoration. And if you get to adoration, you come, just put your name in that tiny little notebook there, and we're gonna challenge one another and call one another on to be with Jesus in this particular way. Don't stop praying before you go to bed or when you wake up, but go to adoration. He's there, and when you start to allow that desire for him to grow and you thirst for him, you're going to experience his deep thirst for you. And when thirst meets thirst and desire meets desire, it grows. And your relationship with him will grow. I can't imagine if my best friend was, a half a mile away, that I wouldn't stop and see them. I do it all the time. I drive by Jesus every single day. And I want to make it a point to get there more. So that my challenge to you is that, obviously pray. Pray when you can. Pray in your room. Pray in your bed. Pray whenever you can. But go to the chapel and meet Jesus there. That's where he is, thirsting for you, waiting for you. And when you go there, I know also the heart of Mother Teresa will be there with you as well. The Missionaries of Charity are a beautiful order. How many of you have ever met a missionary of charity? Okay. They are the most joyful nuns. You actually can't join the order if you're not joyful. That's fine. It's true. And you know how many American nuns are part of the Missionaries of Charity?
Not many.
Not many. Why do you think that is? What's that?
Like Americans are
Because it's not easy, right? And we are the richest country in the world, and we are the most impoverished spiritually. So one more plug, there's a great movie on Netflix called No Greater Love. It's about Mother Teresa and about her order, and it's just a beautiful way to see what she's doing and what she's done all over the world, and how her vision and her image that God gave her all those years ago, her message continues on, that God thirsts, he thirsts for each one of us. So tonight, We are going to, in a minute, we're going to go into a time of adoration. And I want you to go in a little bit with the mindset of what we just talked about. I want you to go in saying, God, I'm bringing you the desire, whether it's big or little. Help me to want you more. And then to allow God to speak to you of his thirst for you, of his desire for you. If it helps you to close your eyes and see him on the cross, to see him say, I thirst. See him and hear him saying that to you personally. So we're going to have some time in adoration. We also have Father Seamus who will be joining us, and he will be available for confessions. And the way it's going to work is he's going to be in that little conference room right across the hall there. And when Delaney announces confessions are available, you can have 2 or 3 of you go and wait in the chairs, but let's keep everybody here with Jesus, okay? We don't want to abandon him. We want to stay here, and there'll be opportunities for people to go and to have confession with Father Seamus as we are having adoration as well. So I'm going to give you guys a minute. Get up, stretch. We're going to just set the room really, really quickly for adoration and a time to be with Jesus.